Welcome back to Raw Guitar Confidential with Scott and Ryan. Today, you're going to find out what we're listening to as we reap the fruits of the perpetual smart acidness that dominated our 20s. Stay tuned.
You know, they always say that if you didn't have ugly, you wouldn't understand or appreciate beautiful. So having like all kinds of gear malfunctions, that just makes you appreciate it when it doesn't malfunction. You know, that's the most positive spin I could put on that one. You know,
The gear glass is half full.
Yes, the gear glass is half full. If there's a gear glass at all, is a good thing. That's
Well,
what I would
hey,
say.
hopefully I'll have some new gear soon.
Yes, sounds like you will actually. I think one of your guitar crushes is about to say yes to
Dude,
you.
it's time to pull the trigger on the comparison, I think.
Heck yeah, dude, you should totally do that.
Yes, I thank you.
I mean, not that you need my permission. I'm just saying, yeah.
I just need to prove to my own credit card company that I'm me.
Yes, well, that's hard to do.
Yeah, I send them, money every month.
Well, that's not good enough,
So they
man.
should. Apparently not.
Apparently you need
not.
a parchment with like a blood oath from like your clan from 1520 or something like that that explains.
I guess so, man. Keeping
and Johann begat Jonathan, and Jonathan begat. You know, it's like,
Right.
how many begats back do you have to get
right.
before you can
Do
prove
my
it?
own like Book of Genesis
Exactly.
of family genealogy.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, dude, they make you do this thing now where to verify your identity, you have to take a picture of your driver's license.
A picture of your driver's license?
Yeah, picture of your driver's license. And then you need to film 5 seconds of yourself for biometric identification. Mm-hmm. The problem is that I'm 28 years old in my driver's license photo.
Yeah. And that was like, what, 3 years ago or something like that, right?
Right, yeah, exactly. Only 3. and so, the biometric, well, plus I've got like this kind of smart ass look on my face.
Yeah. Your permanent look at 28 was smart-assness.
It
right?
was, yeah. I was like perpetual smart
you
ass.
guys are all lame. You know,
Yeah, totally, dude. I'm like, my head's like turned to the side, and like I'm just kind of smart assing.
Yeah, you got
And
deuces,
yeah.
that kind of, yeah.
I'm a much more grumpy old man than smart ass now. It doesn't like smart ass doesn't quite.
The world has taken
fit.
you around the block a couple times, Ryan. That's the difference.
That it has. It has. So we'll see what happens.
I think that I feel confident able to prove that you're who you are.
I
think
hope
that's
so.
If all the things
hopefully
you can prove.
just a phone call should clear things up.
That's true.
Since I already have accounts.
Yep.
Well, my main account that I use for buying music stuff that is tax deductible due to my profession, right?
Yes, and then what are the account numbers? No, that's right.
Yes, 1, 2, 3, 4.
Ryan, I never asked before. But what's your mother's maid? I just
8, 6,
just kind of
7,
curious.
5, 3,
the
0,
street that you
9.
grew up on. What was that again? I can't
right.
remember. I said for some reason. Yeah. This whole thing has all been a long con to try and get some identity.
I grew up atop a mountain raised by a dragon. Like Ronnie James Dio and Yngwie before
classic
me.
story
Right.
heard 1,000 times. You know what I mean?
That's right.
It's funny. When I was growing up, both my parents, died when I was little, but I was raised by my butler.
Yes.
And I've been really looking into the field of crime fighting. I think that actually might.
I thought you took a break from crime fighting to record this podcast.
That's the only thing I'm doing here. By the way, I should probably mention the Rock Guitar Confidential podcast with Scott and Ryan, coming to you straight from Gotham City. I probably should mention that.
Yes, straight from Gotham.
We are in a cavern
Studio.
deep beneath the earth next to a waterfall.
It's really an upstairs cavern.
Yeah, that's
it
true.
defies conventions.
Okay, maybe none of the things we just said are true. Welcome in, guys. So this is sometimes we have a podcast, we have a game plan, and we have some spicy things to talk about that are going to make people upset and angry, and we're going to fight. Sometimes we're just going to wander the wilds of Guitar Gear. Sometimes we're just going to meander the trodden wasteland that is the post-grunge apocalypse.
Sometimes we're going to mosey through the abandoned ghost town of talent that is the world of music.
Yes, but to this one, we're going to just kind of hang out. We're going to proverbially shoot the shit on our front porch together, and Ryan and I are going to talk to you
Take
about
that shit. Pew,
yeah,
pew.
exactly. Poo-poo.
There it is, folks.
We're going to talk about what we're listening to, and hopefully, honestly, this isn't really a two-way thing. So I'm sure if we had the opportunity to talk to every one of you, which is, I think there's got to be like 3 of you out there.
It's 3 now?
I'm hoping so.
Rad.
We'd see what you're listening to, but this is the Rock Guitar Confidential podcast with Scott and Ryan. So we're going to just talk about what we're listening to, and then if maybe we can hip you to something that maybe you wouldn't think of, and just shows you what our mindset is these days. Anyway.
Dude, I think you just opened the door to some listener-inspired reaction videos.
Oh my god, I don't want to know what that is.
Man.
It's going to be negative. Like, you guys are lame. I had faith in this. This can be all just a bunch of like, people jumping out of windows
Just
and stuff. I can't take this anymore. I had faith before this, but not anymore.
We'll have to have people send in suggestions for us, and we can just be like, "Wow, that sucks."
Yeah, we just go do a troll.
And this is
like all
why.
trolling video. No. Anyway, so let's start off. So Ryan, you go first, man. What have you been listening to lately? Let's kind of go back and forth.
Okay, so my new favorite band, thanks to my YouTube algorithm.
Oh, thank you, algorithm.
Yes, thank you, algorithm. I had a Stairway band one year. There's their picture over in the corner,
Called algorithm.
called the All Go Rhythms.
Ah, clever.
Right? All
Yes.
go. Let's all go. All go. Yeah, I thought it was clever.
That's why they kept showing up and asking me to buy insurance. That's
right.
I click on the website. Wait, where are these people coming from? I don't
Hey,
get
man,
this.
I teach the kids to be doers.
There you go.
And so there you go.
Fair enough.
That's right. So on my YouTube feed, I got the thumbnail for their performance at Wacken Open Air Festival,
Which is a fantastic metal festival. Happens every
dude.
year.
Without a doubt, man, we need something like that here in the States.
Yeah, well, yeah, it'd be much smaller here. I mean, Aftershock, I guess you could say, is kind of similar,
Yeah,
but with
yeah.
way worse. Like way,
Dude,
way
I
worse.
I turned down 2 offers for VIP tickets to Aftershock.
Yeah, I can see why. I mean,
It's just, well, primarily, the primary reason is that, if I'm not going to cancel like a 15 student day
yeah.
unless there's just somebody I've got to see. Kiss was on the bill, but I've seen him 5 times.
Yeah.
I'm cool.
It's kind of, you don't really want to see old Kiss either, like the point where it's like, getting like time to hang it up Kiss. You want to have good memories, you know what I mean?
Well, oddly enough, so the second to last time I saw Kiss, and I forget what they were calling the tour, it was at Golden One Center here in Sacramento. I did walk away thinking, man, Gene and Paul kind of just looked like their backs hurt all night.
Yeah. It's almost like exploitive or something. Like, why are they making these people do this? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Which I thought that was going to be the last time, but we went. I guess now it was a year ago in September. I think we saw him play at the Wheatland Amphitheater or the Toyota Amphitheater,
Whatever it's called nowadays.
Yeah, whoever's sponsoring it,
Yeah.
the Crypto.com.
That was the naming rights
Yeah.
for it, yeah.
Right. And man, they did not look like their backs hurt.
Huh. Well, maybe it was just a bad day that day.
Maybe it was like cortisol shots and steroids or something.
Yeah.
I don't know.
yeah, maybe just, who knows, maybe they had an injury or something. Those guys aren't spring chickens, you know what I mean? It's,
Right,
they're on the-
exactly.
yeah.
So if that's my last Kiss show, I'm okay with that.
So let's get back to the Wacken open air, though.
Yeah,
You
so-
almost never go wrong with Wacken. They have killer lineups, like unbelievably killer.
Yeah, I'm reaching for my iPad just so that I can get your reaction.
Oh, okay.
So this may take a moment.
Okay, I'll try and fill while he's pulling out his iPad. There's nothing more exciting than grabbing an iPad and then scrolling through for things. That's like everyone's like, oh, riveted,
Okay, so
seat of the pants. Like,
Okay,
what's going to
so-
happen next?
So the band is called Crypta.
Oh, you told me about this. Yeah.
Yeah, they're from Brazil.
They're just missing the word currency at the end. That's just the obvious second thing, cryptocurrency.
Yeah, cryptocurrency,
Yeah,
right?
that's what it
Well,
should
yeah, dude, they are raw.
So most of
Let me tell you.
their songs are blockchain influenced, right? That's like what their main subject matters.
Yes, they're. Yeah, man.
So we just discovered these guys,
I just discovered these gals.
gals. It's all female band.
Dude, it's like if Morbid Angel were
I've heard of these guys. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
all young ladies from Brazil.
Yeah, very cool.
Dude, they are raw.
Killer.
Seriously. And both guitar players just shred. The drummer's sick.
Good people. Good people. Yeah.
Yeah, man.
I've heard of these guys before. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yep.
I am so happy that Crypta exists.
You know, on that same kind of thing, we also just discovered this band, Wings of Steel.
Oh, yep.
It's another band that's like that. It's like, a bunch of 22-year-olds who are like, dude,
from Los Angeles.
Like just never realized that the 90s happened. Thank God they missed that. But it's like unbelievable. Killer vocals, killer guitar, shredding guitar player.
Oh,
like,
great
unbelievable
guitar playing. Killer singer. The
Yeah.
singer reminds me at times of Tony Arnell.
Yeah, a little bit. He's got a little
Yep.
Tony Harnell. He's not quite as like shrieky, I would say. Tony Harnell's got a little shriekiness to him sometimes, but very, very cool. It just makes me happy to know that those guys
Yeah.
are doing that. It's just awesome.
Absolutely, yeah.
Absolutely,
So
yeah.
Wings of Steel, Crypta, there's hope for humankind.
Yes, great metal. This is like what true
Yeah.
metal should be. This is not like Polyphia or Alma's Leader. I mean, not there's anything wrong with those bands, but this is like what metal should be.
Well, and you know what? Did you see the man? And I hate to pile on.
Oh, we're gonna talk about the Vi thing.
No, I was going to talk about the Willow Smith on SNL this past weekend.
I'm completely unaware of this. Go ahead and hey, by the way, the Vi
man.
thing I was mentioning is Vi did a collaboration with Polyphia that recently came out. So
It's on the cover of Guitar World.
yeah, and they did a song together apparently, which is cool. I appreciate that. That's good.
Yeah.
They need to bring something in there. I mean, I hope he passed the math test though. I gotta assume he probably
right.
had a couple cracks at that before they were able
Yes,
to.
he had to actually submit blueprints of
Yeah.
what he was going to play.
Exactly, and then he had like 60 or 70 problems to solve, within a certain time frame, and
Yes,
yeah.
it took a while for Steve to get his parts approved by OSHA.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So anyway, what happened with Will
So-
Smith though?
Well, and I hate to pile on, because everyone's going to pile on the Smith family.
I have no idea what this is. I have never heard anything about this.
So this is Will Smith and Jada Pinkett Smith's daughter Willow,
Okay,
and she's done some stuff where if you're going to be like the
is it like is she an artist? Is she a musician or something?
yeah, I think she's a musician. I don't know who's actually playing the instruments.
Okay. Singer? Is she a singer? Is that? What
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, and she had a hit called "Wait a Minute." I think she's mostly known for the "Flip My Hair Back" thing, which was like a song. But she had another single called "Wait a Minute" that has kind of a cool little guitar line. And so,
I'm
when I've
completely unaware of
got younger, I had a younger student recently. She wanted to learn it, and so we transcribed it, and it was a great platform for learning some cool stuff
Yeah,
on
anything
guitar.
with
So-
guitar in it, right? I mean,
yeah, and full disclosure, I saw Jada Pinkett with Wicked Wisdom back at the at Ozfest in 2006. I thought it was great that somebody who was famous was at least putting forth something that was metal, that might get some listeners that the rest of the Ozfest bill wouldn't. It had the potential for more of a broad appeal. So, just so everyone knows, I am not hating on the Smith family. I am not.
after the Oscar thing, that's kind of another bit of piling on too. But I mean,
Yeah, I know. So I know the timing is weird, but I think Will Smith's agent has him choose bad roles.
well, he also didn't choose to slap Chris Rock at the Oscars.
Well, I mean, I'm not. Yeah, I'm putting that like.
that shows like a bad judgment issue.
I'm putting a pin in that, but yes, I wholeheartedly agree. So, like, I want to. I mean, yes, there's always going to be some of that. Hey, if your parents weren't famous, you wouldn't be getting this shot.
Wolfgang Van Halen deals with that all the time. I mean, that's
Right, but at least so the performance on SNL, like there's some Van Halen-y like tappy licks in the song, which is great.
yeah, it's way cool.
But the lead guitar player, I noticed on the first one, she turned around and faced the drummer.
Yeah, instead of facing the audience. Yeah.
Yeah, and then there's another one at the end of the song, and she turned around and faced the drummer again, but her fret hand was, I believe, in the wrong place.
Oh, okay. So you basically think they're playing the tracks, basically.
Yeah, man.
Well,
I
gee,
think
that's
it was,
good thing that's never happened on SNL before.
Well, I mean, not if you're Skid Row, it didn't.
Actually, Simpson. There's the
Right, yeah,
Yeah.
totally,
Yeah.
man. And so, like, dude, I'm so torn because it's like there's this awesome guitar. Some studio person recorded it.
Yeah, it's cool that the people get to see a
damn.
young person with a guitar too. That's something that people of a certain age don't even know what that is. A guitar player.
Does it matter that she's not playing it though?
It does. It totally matters. Yep. By the way,
Yeah.
you know who else is torn? Natalie Imbruglia.
Oh, you know who else is torn? Rip.
You know who else is torn? Evergrey.
And David
Oh
is
my
also
God.
torn.
We're going to run out here pretty soon. You know who else is torn? Russell Wilson's lat.
Oh, okay. Wow, that's a good one. Yeah, all right. Well, I guess you got me on that one.
You know who else is torn? Emmanuel Mosley's ACL.
Well, I mean, we're gonna go with like sports people.
Yeah,
I mean,
torn ACLs
yeah.
are too easy. You know. Well, that's cool. So, that's something that happened. So at least, hey, I'll take anybody playing the guitar that might influence someone else to want to pick up a guitar. That's still progress in the right direction.
Well, and so that's all the more reason that like the same week that Willow Smith was essentially like guitar syncing anyway. I mean, she might have been, her mic might have been turned on, but like this, but then I discovered Crypta and I'm like, oh yeah, that's the stuff.
That's
all
so
right,
fun.
rad. I'm so glad that they're, so I mean, they're, it's an all female band. It sounds like if Morbid Angel were all chicks.
a little Arch Enemy in there too. There's definitely a little bit of Arch Enemy kind of ness to it, I would say.
Well, but I mean, Arch Enemy is dudes with a female singer.
Oh, I know, but that's like the melodic content kind of reminds me a little bit of Arch Enemy, like that with great guitar playing behind it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally.
I think that's what differentiates like that kind of melodic death metal from like black metal. Is there's like something going on musically.
Oh, like with the black metal, you mean?
No, with the melodic death metal, there's like actually something musically interesting happening.
So here's an interesting topic. If we were to veer into some other territory, when people say black metal, I think Merciful Fate.
Yeah, but Merciful Fate's like, I don't think of those guys as more power metal, more so than black metal. I mean, I guess it depends on if you consider the black metal to be the imagery, then that's one thing. To me, black metal is like bad punk. With like horrible vocals.
I think Cradle of Filth really fucked up the
those guys can
black
play,
metal
I
notion.
mean? Yeah, I mean that to me, like black metal is like Mayhem, bands like that. You know what I mean? That's that kind of stuff.
Dimmu Borgir.
Yeah, exactly. But those guys can play too, though.
Yeah.
That's the thing. I mean, that there's the bands that I think that I most often hear associated with black metal are just horrible.
I agreed. Yeah, totally.
But I think that obviously Merciful Fate's a great band. I mean, that doesn't. That to me is more power metal. I think those guys is more power metal, maybe gothic power metal. I would describe them maybe in that range. I wouldn't want them. If I was them, I wouldn't want to be associated with black metal.
Well, I mean, they're like the OGs of black metal. I mean, they black metal should be what Merciful Fate
why is everything
started
that's
as
come
black
behind
metal.
them so shockingly falling short? It's like,
I don't know,
Yeah,
man. That's a good question. I mean, who cares what genres really are anyway? I guess.
Well, it's kind of like death metal too. Like Death is like considered like the first death metal band, and then it's like why is every band that's come after them that's death metal so far inferior to Death?
Well, I mean, Deicide wasn't bad. Cannibal Corpse isn't bad for what they do.
Yeah, they're not death though, man. I mean,
Yeah, they are.
Oh,
Cannibal
no.
Corpse is totally death metal.
There's no Chuck Schuldiner level players in that band.
Dude, Jack Owen is a serious. Have I told you my Jack Owen anecdote?
No,
Okay, so for years and years and years, my number one guitar was a Brian Moore C55.
Okay, yeah, yep.
Right. So I was at lunch in the late '90s, and
Which is the only time that lunch existed, by the way. Everyone, you missed it.
Right,
There's
yeah,
a window
well-
in the '90s where people ate a meal in the middle of the day. It was called lunch.
Yes.
Just so everyone knows.
These days, I just eat a food bar. maybe if Cliff Bar would like to sponsor us,
Yes.
I could do talk about about what flavor I have.
I think when you say that, you mean actually a guy named Cliff Barr.
It was Cliff. Yeah, well, yeah,
personal check each week.
That's right.
Here's your stipend, boys.
Oh, I thought you were like referencing cannibalism. Well, we were talking about Cannibal Corpse,
There you
and
go.
then I thought it was like a guy named Cliff.
Yeah, okay.
Anyway,
Yeah.
so, so the guys called me at lunch and said, "Hey, you got to come back. Jack Owen's here in the guitar department, like just jamming." And so I hurried back from wherever I was eating my food bar.
Yeah, yep.
And when I walked into the guitar department, there was nobody like on the main sales floor, but it sounded like there were these like totally clean guitar. It sounded like there were two people doing like a jazz duet in the amp room. Mm-hmm. And so I went and took a look back there, and it was only Jack Owen. He sounded like two people.
Yeah.
And it was crazy what he was doing.
That's cool.
And I mean, he's not in Cannibal Corpse now, but I mean, he's one of the original guys, I think. So, like, what we know as Cannibal Corpse, like Hammer, Smashed Face, and stuff like that, that's Jack Owen stuff, I do believe. I could be wrong. Super, super nice guy, man. He put me on the guest list +1 for the Cannibal Corpse gig that night.
Oh, that's really cool.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Were they playing
man.
here in town?
Yeah, they were playing it at the time. I don't know if it was called the Cattle Club or Bojangles or that club under the freeway overpass.
Yep, which is like where most rock clubs are.
Yes,
next to the burning car.
Yes, exactly. Yes, next to the dumpster fire where Frank
exactly.
Stallone is singing a cappella with his gang.
Well, okay, I got to tell you, one thing I've been listening to lately, the new thing that not new, there's two things actually that I just recently discovered. One thing that's interesting, I've always been a big fan, kind of talk about a total left turn from the subway. A band I've always really loved is Danger Danger. And they put out a bunch of records that I just been going back and discovering these albums from like 2000, 2005 that they put out, I didn't even know about. And I just found out this band, this record called Cockroach.
Oh.
It came out in like 2005, I want to say.
It's a good name.
It's great. It's Andy Timmons doing duels with like Red Beach and stuff on there.
Nice.
And it's like the whole band and the killer tunes. There's not a bad song on that record.
Well, dude, you can't kill that album.
It's a Cockroach. That's honestly what the whole idea that grunge didn't kill us.
Oh, I love
it.
Is. That's great.
But it's great, and it's such a treat to go back and like, oh my God, there's these great records that some of my favorite bands put out. I didn't even know. I just kind of I just gave up on it. I just went and wandered the wilderness for a few years. Didn't even think about rock. I mean, I just kind of assumed everyone was dead. It's almost like if your civilization burned, you just assume everyone's dead. You come back, it turns out there's a bunch of people survived.
You go back to Pompeii and you find like Red Beach is still there jamming.
Oh,
in the
dude,
ashes.
like I thought you guys didn't make it. You know, it's like that. And you come back and you discover it was incredible. And then I also just picked up the new Queensryche Digital Noise Alliance, which is killer.
Oh, when did that drop?
Dropped on Friday.
No way.
It's so good, dude.
All right.
It's great. You know, it's funny. The singles they put out, like the videos and singles they put out, are like the weakest tracks on the record. I was kind of ambivalent about it. I liked the new Queensryche quite a lot.
Yeah.
But I was like, everything else in the album is like incredibly strong.
Is it still Todd Latore on vocals?
Todd Latore, Michael Wilton, Eddie Jackson, the typical, so good, man. Michael Wilton's a very underrated guitar player.
Oh, absolutely.
Everyone kind of always assumes he was like second fiddle to Chris DeGarmo, but if you look at those classic albums, it was like a 50-50 split. You know what I mean? It wasn't like one guy overshadowed the other guy. They were such a great team.
Well, and Chris DeGarmo, I mean, he was doing double duty. You know,
singing
he was singing, he was playing guitar, he was writing, and then he also had to star in all those movies too.
You know what's funny though is those guys were a great team. Like if you look at especially like Operation Mindcrime, like if you look at how they break up the solos in like Revolution Calling and Operation Mindcrime, it's so seamless how they went back and forth and they would harmonize and they would go into octaves and stuff. It was so creative and interesting.
Right, and then he'd go, shoot a film under his stage name, Jamie Lee Curtis. Chris DeGarmo would, and so he had a whole like film career as Jamie Lee Curtis, and then he was also playing in Queensryche
and Flying Jets,
and right. I mean, so he just covered like
talk
everything.
About Renaissance man,
or woman. I don't know,
but I gotta say,
which is cool either way. But
those guys though don't get when people talk about the great two guitar bands. Like I don't hear Queensryche brought up as much in that as it should be. That's two guys work great, and now obviously Michael Wilton's kind of the primary guy in the band now, and I personally think his stuff he's done has always been great. I've been a huge fan of his writing, and not just his soloing, but his writing.
Last year, a student at Christmas holiday season, a student of mine got me a Christmas ornament that is it's Michael Wilton's ESP guitar.
Oh, cool! The skull one.
Yeah, it's got the little skulls and crossbones on the black strat. Yeah, nice. I have a Michael Wilton guitar.
Nice.
Christmas ornament.
Love it, dude. I mean, I've always loved Queensryche. It's definitely my top 20 favorite bands.
Dude,
for sure.
they were able to take hold of the flame better than anybody else.
That's true. Yeah, and there was Revolution Calling. They answered.
And they answered. That's absolutely right.
Yeah, I love, dude. I mean, unabashedly, I really love. It reminds me of a lot of bands that like their first like 6 records, just great. You start with the EP, then you come in the Warning.
Yeah.
And you got like Operation Mindcrime, so Rage for Order, Operation Mindcrime,
yeah.
Empire, and even Promised Land.
They ignored the warning because they had to Rage for Order.
It's true. And they were doing a surgical strike.
Yes.
And then they had to get close to us. And then they were breaking the silence.
And then now they rest in a state of silence.
Now they don't actually
until the new album.
They still rock.
Dude,
the last 3 records with Latore on vocals have been unbelievably great. I mean, just unbelievably great. I mean, I can't believe what a great singer that guy is. It's like I mean, like you think no one could ever follow Jeff Tate.
What is Jeff Tate doing these days?
He's still doing Jeff Tate's Queensryche thing. He's still out there singing. His range is gone.
Is it?
I mean, it's like he's doing like he'll sing the melody but like at 2 octaves down. Kind of thing. He still has a good tone to his voice, but he can't hit anything close like the notes he used to.
Yeah, he doesn't have the range.
64 years old or something. I mean, of course he's not going to have that. You know what I mean? And although Bruce Dickinson somehow can still do it, so I don't know.
Different singers. Yeah, Graham Bonnet can still do it. And shout out to Graham Bonnet.
Glenn Hughes too. I mean, that another guy can still sing exactly like he's always sang. You know what I mean?
Man, we need to get Graham Bonnet on this podcast. That's gonna be the high watermark goal for this podcast. Somehow we're gonna get Graham Bonnet on here.
That'd be really cool. Thanks for listening to the Rock Guitar Confidential podcast with Ryan and Scott. Hope you're enjoying walking through the things that we're listening to right now. Please make sure to rate and subscribe to this podcast. Now back to the show. But anyway, the new Queensryche I can wholeheartedly, and if you aren't familiar with the new version with Todd LaTorre on vocals, that you should go back and listen to the last album is called The Verdict, which was fantastic, great record, and the one before that was called Condition Human, which was also fantastic. They did another record, just a self-titled before that with him, which has also got a lot of great stuff on it too. So really all the records they've done with LaTorre on vocals have been great. Michael Wilton shredding your face off, you know what I mean? And
who's playing drums for him now? It's not Scott Rockenfield,
Rockenfield, there's some weirdness going on there. Like he's like had some kind of meltdown and like left the band, and then says he didn't leave the band, and I'm sure there's like, whatever, dude. Yeah. We don't need more drama in this band. But it's Casey Grillo from actually, it was funny, a band we talked about. He was the drummer in Camelot.
Oh,
he's now the drummer in Queensryche. So pretty amazing. And then, the second guitar player now, it was Parker Lundgren for a long time, who was their touring guitarist. And then now it's Mike Stone again. And Mike Stone, who was the second guitar player for a long time with him too, back in the Q2K era sort of stuff. What's funny about these kind of bands like that is that I'll oftentimes talk to someone who was like a huge fan of the band back in the 80s and 90s, let's say, and they always say something to the effect of, well, what happened to those guys? Whatever happened to those guys? I'm like, they never went anywhere.
Yeah, they never left.
They've been doing their thing ever since then. They've never stopped. They've got like 10 records out that you didn't know about. That's like me with Danger. Go back and go find those records, man. It's amazing how you'll find stuff that's great.
It's so worthwhile. Yeah, actually, well, so then here comes my next pick. So so at work this week, my buddy, he found this video that's going around of an old Kurt Mitchell VHS instructional tape. It is hilarious. So Kurt Mitchell was the guitar player for a band called Bangalore Choir, and their debut album came out, I think, in '92.
A little too late.
Called On Target. Yeah. It was not on target. No, it was a little late.
It was just a little off. Yeah.
And so I mean, they exemplify the band that got crushed.
They're right there in that same basket with Saigon Kick and T-Ride and
Kurt Mitchell deserved a music career. I mean, he still had one as it seems, as far as I can tell. I could be wrong, as a teacher.
Yeah,
and I'm sure he had a number of other projects.
He deserved the big stage, is what you mean.
Yeah, he deserved the big stage.
Yeah.
Not who got it.
Yeah.
And so there's this instructional video that he had to film. Guitar in the style of Nirvana.
Oh, good Lord.
Dude, and you can just, everyone out there, you'll have to find it on YouTube.
Then you just throw the guitar on the ground, let it feed back, and walk away.
He just straight up says, Kurt Cobain wasn't a very good guitarist, but that he didn't care. He's trying to find, there's lots of...
What's a positive thing?
There's lots of compliment sandwiches in there, and just to see him play the examples on the video, it's both hilarious and heartbreaking.
It's mostly heartbreaking. It's if you're someone who's such an accomplished player who's got to sit there and talk it up this complete hack.
Yeah, dude, it is something. So I took the opportunity to dive back into some Bangalore Choir stuff, and there's some really rocking songs on their debut. Well, I think it's their debut. It's called On Target. The real hard rockers are killer. Kurt Mitchell's a great guitar player. Yeah. And the whole band sings. Well, they're a choir.
Yep.
Bangalore Choir. A Bangalore is like a World War II era. Just watch Saving Private Ryan. They use one. It launches mortars or bombs. It's like a big tube that you put a mortar through, and it slides to the other side of a trench or whatever. Anyway, it makes stuff blow up.
I thought it was a city in Maine. I thought that's what that was.
Bangalore, Maine.
Yeah,
Bangalore. That's the fictional city.
Most of their songs are about lobstermen.
Yes, that's a fictional town in a Stephen King
novel.
We
didn't bring in too many lobsters this winter. That's most of their songs are like that. We lost Mickey and Frank out there on the seas. Come in. from the cold.
Right.
I think that's all they do in Maine. They do
They
lobster
just-
fishing,
they
and,
lobster farm
and suffer in
and-
the cold. That's what happens in Maine, right?
And buy cursed antiques. Yes, I
You
think
know,
that
I think
about covers
I
it.
think the two guys who from California who probably, at least for me, I've
Yeah.
never set foot in Maine. I think we have a good handle on what's happening.
There's
there.
a pretty nasty clown
There's a nasty clown.
that lives out there.
Is there
too.
any other kind of clown? Come on.
Well, I mean, he like prunes the children out of the community,
you
so
go.
he's cool.
Yeah, he's doing God's work.
Yeah, he is
Yeah,
totally.
exactly.
So Bangalore Choir, I guess they released an album in 2021 called Metaphor, and I like it better than their debut. I think, I mean,
Awesome.
they're free from the constraints of having to have the ballad.
Yeah. Just do what they do.
Yeah, just do what they do. At times, the singer sounds like David Coverdale in his prime.
That's fucking high praise.
Yeah,
man. You kidding
he's
me? I mean,
very, very good. I think he's actually got a little more range. I mean, he's really good. There's times where I'm thinking, man, that's like this guy should be. If Coverdale hangs it up, like this guy could go do that.
Isn't it so
gig.
heartbreaking? You'll see a band like that, like Bangalore Choir, with just everything's great. The guitar's great, the production's great, the song's great, the singer's great. Everything is amazing, like on 10. And then these guys, they're putting out like their own record, or they're doing it off some small little label. And then you turn on like Good Morning America, and it's like a Dua Lipa concert in front of 50,000 people. It's like you go like, it just makes you like your heart just break into a million pieces. Like, what is going on, man? Like, there's. Oh, what she needs to change clothes again. Okay, cool. There's no band. It's almost like to a boombox that they're doing the performance to. It's like, and the people are like, oh, this is the most amazing thing. Oh my God, Beyonce is a queen or whatever. It's like there's nothing happening with that music whatsoever.
nothing.
And these guys who are amazing, they're just yeah, well, I got to do my instructional videos. You know what I mean? That's
It's tough.
it's
man.
it's just
It
so
really is.
heartbreaking. You know what I mean?
Or
And-
again on Saturday Night Live, there's there's a ton of guitar players. Here's what baffles me about the Willow Smith thing: there's a ton of studio. They could have called Nuno.
Yeah.
Nuno Betancourt would have done. I mean, they
For
would have
sure,
they would
yeah.
have had to pay him, and so I guess.
And but he has the look. He's got the. I mean,
I mean everything.
Yeah.
There's even.
Because the only thing I could think of is they want someone that has a certain look. They probably have a producer's like, oh, we need a girl with this kind of look, and she's
Well,
got.
I mean, there are girls. They could have had Maddie Rice do it.
Yeah, there's tons.
There's
Yeah.
tons.
Yeah, but they just don't know. I mean, they kind of look around it's like everybody else. Who do we know? And then let's get this person, and it's probably done by headshots more than anything else. It's probably like, what does this person look
It
like?
seemed like it.
It's gotta be, yeah.
It's gotta be. I
Yeah.
don't
Well,
know.
That's something
it was
that us rock
bewildering.
and rollers don't understand is that for pop music world, the image is as if not more important than the music.
It's
Like,
just, let me put it this way:
Yeah.
if I were Willow Smith, and my mom had ushered me into this world of appreciating rock and metal, part of what's great about rock and metal is that you get good at doing it, and then you showcase that in front of people.
Well, that's part of the show,
Just
too.
for integrity. It's not like she didn't play SNL because she needs the money.
Yeah.
So why wouldn't you just find a real guitar player?
Well, you might be on it. Like they don't have a real guitar player in the band. It's all about the image. You know what I mean? And most people don't give a shit about whether someone plays it live or doesn't.
I mean, she could hire a real guitar player,
I know,
and
but-
it would be this. And I'm not criticizing the song itself at all. Although I could. There's things I liked and didn't like, but
You've been very kind, actually.
it just blows my mind that there wasn't an actual guitar
the
player
music
there.
is such an afterthought in that. You know what I mean? It's not even a second, third, fourth. It's like a fifth thought. You know what I
Damn.
mean?
Well, then just don't play metal.
Well, they're not playing metal.
Go
I mean,
back to doing pop, whatever, and that's fine.
And I think that at some
don't begrudge
point,
that.
I mean, you and I probably both experience this. We have a lot of younger students who are really into the old stuff. You know what I mean? And they're going to hunger for that again coming on forward. Because I think the music now, it's mainstream pop music, like the Post Malones and the Machine Gun Kellys and stuff. There's just nothing there. Kanye.
Yeah,
There's just nothing there.
If I were a multimillionaire, I'd have like $1 million reward for the first person who can explain to me what Post Malone's good at. Just anybody.
This
just
is part
someone,
of your
please tell
long-running
me.
vendetta against Post Malone.
I don't have a vendetta. I just want to know, like,
No, I
what
get it.
is Post Malone's elite skill?
Yeah, I know. I get you. I mean, elite skill, dude. It's like you have a look that people think is cool. That's the elite skill.
I mean, what is that
You know?
look?
I don't get
Like,
it either.
he's,
But
you
dude, you and
know,
I are too old to understand what
He's
makes that.
he's an average dude. He's
What's
not
a 19-year-old think is cool? I don't know. I have no idea.
Yeah,
You know what
I
mean?
guess.
That's,
Yeah,
you know.
well, there's that.
So what you and I thought was cool growing up is not even remotely close to a thought. I mean, did you see that commercial? I think it's like from one of the insurance companies where the father's like helping his daughter move out to college, and he drops a box, and she finds in the bottom of the box like a headshot of him when he was the lead singer of a metal band. and she's totally mortified and stuff. And she's like, "Oh my god!" And he's like, 80. He's got the long hair. He's got the spandex and stuff. And she's like, "Oh!" And she runs out of the room all horrified. That's like the thing that you and I grew up thinking was cool.
That's a commercial.
That's a commercial.
Like
It's
now?
like it's first, yeah. It's seated on like the NFL games and stuff. They'll be on there. It's like for some freaking insurance company, I think, or something. But anyway, the point I'm trying to make though is that kind of what we grew up thinking was cool and interesting is that's the reaction like an under 20 person would have to what we thought was cool when we were kids. The same kind of recoiling
Well,
we have to Post Malone.
I mean, some of them. I mean, there's 4 young ladies from Brazil who are like throwing down the metal.
But you know that's not from America. You probably wouldn't see that in America. That for some reason,
Yeah.
American youth people. Oh my God, this is sounding
this is bad.
yelling at clouds.
Yeah, I got to be
But
careful.
like
where
American young people are like just totally going along for the ride.
for the sake of our audience, I need to be careful about this conversation.
Oh, I don't know what do you have something?
No, I just I have all kinds of thoughts on.
Well, it
those
just seems like
things.
America. And I was talking to one of my students is from Taiwan. And,
Oh.
and we were talking about pop culture, and I was just explaining to him that, because he says, in Taiwan, if you're into like Led Zeppelin and Van Halen and Metallica, that's the coolest thing you could be. I'm like, well, it is cool. But I've told him, like, America, it's just all about whatever the new thing is. Like, what's the hip thing now? And it's got to be something different every like 24 months. It's got to be something new. And that's really a uniquely American thing. I think that really ties into our marketing culture. We need to be selling you something, the same thing, but in a new package every 24 months is kind of how you market.
So it's the ADHD culture.
Yeah, I think, but it's more about I want to sell you something again and again and again and again, just like they would do with a Pepsi. Like this is now Pepsi Cherry, this is Pepsi Zero, whatever it might be.
yeah.
So they just extend that to music and movies and everything else, and it's sort of a product to be marketed. So in other parts of the world, they recognize that music has got inherent value. It's not just a product to be marketed. Does that make
there you
sense?
go.
And I think that idea that it should be something new every 24 months or else it's not cool anymore is a uniquely American sort of perspective. And I think that comes back to our capitalistic impulses and our sort
Yeah.
of like, what I mean? That's going to sound very bad out of context, but I am technically capitalist, but it's one of those things that the idea that music is just a commodity, it's not about the art having value in itself is very abhorrent to me.
Yeah,
think that's
I
a
wholeheartedly agree.
horrid place to be, but that's, also coming from an artist's perspective. I'm not coming from a person who runs a record label's perspective, which, by the way, if you're in a record label business, you should also start a newspaper. Those are perfect.
Yes, right.
Print media and physical
Yeah,
copies of music
absolutely.
are the future, I tells you.
Yes, indeed. I hear the horse and carriage market
Exactly.
is also going to be
We're
hot.
going to need horseshoers and lots of them soon.
Yes, we'll have to
Going
have
back.
a whole infrastructure to deal with the manure.
Exactly.
Yes.
This whole indoor plumbing thing's a fad, I tell
Fertilize
you.
the crops.
What are you going to say, Brian? I'm sorry.
Yay for coal.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's, certain parts of the country, that's unfortunately where we're at.
Dude, we're just skirting around a lot of topics
Yes,
that
it's
I have
true.
a lot of thoughts on.
I don't want to talk about.
That I can't talk
because
about. I don't
everybody,
want to talk about.
this is to steal.
yep.
It's a safe space.
It is
You
a
can-
safe space.
Everyone's thoughts are welcome here, sort of. Within a parameter of decency.
So I digress. Crypt is awesome.
Yeah, crypto is awesome. Any other stuff that you've been listening to that's like, just like
Well, okay.
randomly?
So this is interesting. So, as I mentioned to you when we first got together today, I'm looking forward to seeing Merciful Fate on October 30th.
Yeah, heck yeah, dude.
Dude, it's a few years. So there was when King Diamond started touring again. I think starting in 2012 or 2013. They played at the Warfield in San Francisco. It was two. I think they played like every other year in a row. Right.
Yeah.
So.
Was that the
But-
one where they're doing like the Abigail album in its entirety? Or?
The first one was just they hadn't toured in a long time. So I've seen King Diamond 5 times.
Okay.
And so this most recent run, the first one was just like all the hits or favorite songs,
just like
right?
a celebration sort of thing. Yeah,
Yeah, totally. Threw in some Merciful Fate tunes.
of course. Yeah.
So that first one, like that show was on October 30th. And so me and my buddies drove to San Francisco, saw the show, and then it clicked over to Halloween on the drive home. We got home at like 1 in the
And you're
morning. or
cranking
something.
Halloween, right?
Fuck yeah, dude. Like best Halloween ever. The following gigs, I think there was one. There was like a couple days before Halloween. There was one that got into like the middle of November, but now it's Merciful Fate, October 30th.
Heck yeah, dude. Day
And
before.
I'm flying my buddy back from Iowa. He moved out of town, so we're flying him back from Iowa. He's coming on the 29th. and we're going to go see Merciful Fate on the 30th. He's flying out Halloween. So this is going to be another one of those best Halloweens ever.
Hell yeah, dude. Congratulations. That's awesome. Something to look
Thanks,
forward
man.
to,
Yeah. So, of course, I mean, every October, I increase the amount of King Diamond and Merciful Fate in my playlist.
I mean, is there a more appropriate time? Come on.
The metal just sounds even better in October.
Yeah, that's true.
But the other
Or,
band...
as I like to call it, Rocktober.
Right. Of course.
Yep.
But the other band that has now earned a place on my... From mid-September all the way up to Halloween and probably a little beyond. My birthday's November 7th, exactly a week after Halloween.
Happy birthday in advance.
Oh, well, thank you very much. Yep, we got one foot in the grave, one step closer to oblivion.
See,
It's
King
exciting.
Diamond's all the way in the grave. And he's
Yeah,
got the one arm.
well, and then he rises from the grave.
Exactly.
Yeah, totally. So Huntress.
Oh, really?
Every year, man, I gotta listen to Huntress.
Very cool.
This year, I'm favoring the film Spell Eater a little bit more. But dude, just if you want the killer metal with the occult themes,
The dash of the cult.
yeah, throw a little splash of witchery in there.
Mrs. Dash of occult.
Man, and Jill Janis was such a great singer.
Yeah.
It's so lame that she's gone.
I know. Too young. Who was like 32 or something when she died? She was like,
Well, it was suicide.
Yeah, I know, but I mean, that's-
it was just way too
She had demons,
young, and she, yeah. Man, there's a joke in there somewhere. She probably appreciated it, figuratively and literally.
yeah, that sucks, man.
That does suck. But dude, those three, and it's cool too because she planned those 3 albums out to represent, I guess, stages of her own life based on the Maiden, the Mother, and the Crone. So the first album is the Maiden album, the second album is the Mother album, and the third album is the Crone album.
Yeah, like beaten down by life, angry.
Yeah, I mean the lyrics really reflect a lot of anguish.
Yeah.
But the songs are killer. The band is awesome.
Yeah.
It's albums 1 and 3 are pretty. I'm not going to say raw production wise. They're lean and mean. The middle album, Starbound Beast, there's a little bit more production to it. It sounds a little fuller.
And both can be great. It's not like there's
Yeah.
one. The raw can sound awesome, and super produced can sound awesome too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I think they nailed both. The production reminds me of another band called Priestess that I think I've mentioned on the podcast before.
Yeah.
Their second album was pretty heavy and proggy. But man, just Huntress was just so great, dude. Just she wails like a banshee.
Yeah.
She's got the
Killer voice, yeah.
killer voice, the multi octave range. But she can also put some grit in it. And
Yeah.
I mean, Jill definitely
some serious ovaries.
serious ovaries, right? Kind of like Judith Morgan on the upcoming
Yes.
Ex Aegis album.
I totally agree, but hopefully Judith is gonna,
Live
around
to
much longer.
Yeah, yes, I think she will.
Yes.
I hope so. We'll help see to it.
All right, and the last one for me, like actually, it's got 2 things I've been listening to lately.
Yes.
On top of rediscovering old Danger and new Queensryche, is I've actually gone back and inspired by one of the podcasts we did recently too. I mean, I've been listening to a ton of like my 2002 song playlists.
Oh,
So I've been listening. This is going to.
so this is like what, Backstreet Boys?
Yes, exactly. No, and not too far removed. I've been listening to tons of like Sarah McLachlan, Terry Amos, Goo Goo Dolls, John Mayer, Lifehouse, Vertical Horizon. Anything like early to like Matchbox 20, like 2002.
Dude,
like
are you okay?
doing well. No, it's in Buckethead. Buckethead's in that list.
Okay,
as well.
cool,
The album
cool.
Colma from Buckethead I've been listening to quite a lot lately.
Cool.
So that right there is something I've been listening to a ton. It's just like I don't know why. It's as you reach a certain age, you get these nostalgia feels for certain time periods in your life. So
I
that
get the Tori Amos thing. I want very badly to like Sarah McLachlan.
I love Sarah Mac, dude.
I liked her first album, and I think building a
Surfacing.
mystery was a cool
Surfacing
hit.
is a great record too. Laws of Attraction's a good one too.
I don't get the
Laws
Matchbox
of
20
Illusion.
thing at all.
I get
I don't understand.
Now the other thing that I've been listening to a lot lately, and this is inspired by the amazing new Lord of the Rings series called The Rings of Power, is I've gone back and I've been listening to the Howard Shore Lord of the Rings soundtrack a lot. Listening to I have all 3 of the Fellowship of the Ring, Two Towers, and Return of the King soundtracks, and I've kind of condensed it down to my favorite pieces from all those.
Nice.
So that's been something I've been listening to. It's so good, man.
Dude, well,
so
if you
good.
want to talk about cool orchestral scores,
But that's what I've been listening to. If you guys wonder where my head's at right now, Queensryche, Danger, Sarah McTorriam as John Mayer, and Howard Shore. That's probably where I'm at.
The score for the original Hellraiser has been making.
That's getting rebooted,
rounds.
right? There's a new Hellraiser coming. Is that right?
It's on Hulu. Yeah.
It's already out.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's already out. Yeah, totally. I have thoughts about that too. I enjoyed it. I think I need to watch it again to really.
Is it like something you walk away and like, oh, that was great, that lived up to what I thought it could be, or is it like, I wish they hadn't done that? Like, where are you at in that spectrum?
Well, it's okay. So like the new Predator film, I think
awesome.
was awesome, right?
Yeah, Prey is incredibly good.
Prey was incredibly good.
Yeah.
Like I'm not ready to go that far with the new Hellraiser.
It wasn't
film
quite
yet.
as good as Prey. Yeah.
Yeah,
Relative
I
to its
mean,
own franchise,
but it also had a different like original film to live up to.
Mm-hmm.
I have a different love of Hellraiser than I do for Predator. Predator's a cool action film. Hellraiser deals with some deep stuff.
Yeah.
And the new Hellraiser deals with different deep stuff.
Is it like a reboot? Like we're pretending like the first one never existed? And
It's a reboot.
Okay,
yeah,
okay.
the
Or is it trying to
Cenobites-
build on what the old stuff was?
The antagonists, Cenobites, are redesigned, and I appreciate that too. I miss the BDSM gear of the original Cenobites. I mean, I'm always going to dig black leather.
Yeah. Well, I mean, for obvious reasons.
Obviously, yes, but they basically traded. They traded like lust and desire as being a motivator for the, I guess, I don't know if I'd say protagonist, but the main character. They traded that for addiction.
Oh, okay.
Which those are kind of, I mean, even David Bruckner, the director, said they were adjacent. See, now it's becoming Scott and Ryan's Film Corner. Well, anyway, I got into this because if you want to listen to a great movie score, Hellraiser, and they use some of the same themes in the updated movie score. Really, really cool melodically. It's a great sounding
This is actually
score.
a really good time period nowadays for film and television scores. There's actually a lot of good stuff out there. You know what I mean? And for anything you want to have, there's all kinds of stuff. There's whatever kind of style you're looking for.
Something you might dig of the late '90s persuasion and of the female solo artist persuasion and of the Lord of the Rings persuasion.
Annie Lennox?
No, Fiona Apple.
Oh, yeah, I know Fiona Apple. Yeah.
Yeah, so Fiona Apple, I guess there's going to be a song associated with the upcoming ultimate episode of season 1.
Oh, Tom Power.
Yeah, for Rings of Power, sung by Fiona Apple.
Sweet.
So there
Love
you
it.
go.
All right, guys. Well, that's going to wrap us up for this wonderful What Are We Listening To podcast with the Rock Guitar Confidential podcast with Scott and Ryan. Please make sure to rate and subscribe to our podcast. We've already discussed that you've already agreed to at least a 5-star and up review just by clicking on this podcast.
That is correct.
It's
You're contractually bound.
legally bound. You can't go anywhere else. So that's
Yes.
Please tell your friends about us, and thank you so much for listening.
Thanks.
Peace.